she made another Instagram account under one of my email addresses and unsubscribed to notices and such. So this is the other thing where parents are looking to find other accounts. They might be making it under your email address. And I was impressed with how well she knew how to navigate all this stuff, better than all of us that have been on social media longer than they've been alive. But something I noticed too was even earlier, before she even had a phone or anything like this, we knew that kids can get around all this stuff. They're experts at this stuff, and especially when they have such an information uh, exchange that they can do with these chat rooms. Thousands of teenagers just talking to each other about, you know what you want to do? This is how you do it. This is how you get around this. But it was I think she was 8, maybe 7 to 8 years old. And the family iPad was on the table. And I just quickly looked at the browser history and I had all these Bollywood movies. Bollywood movies get around the parental apps because there's no nudity in them. But there's graphic sex, but they're wearing clothes.
Oh.
And I showed my wife. I said, look at this. She's watching Bollywood movies. This is kids at school. Like, hey, go to this website. It'll go by the parental controls because there's no nudity. But you're going to see adults having sex. And it's fairly graphic without nudity.
Wow.
And that's when I had a moment where even my wife and I kind of smiled. We're like, these kids are tricky. They're ahead of us. So that's why, like, she got my ex got the apps to watch her on the phone. And I said, I'm going to be involved from inside her room to outside as a spectator too. And even with all of that, it's like, I don't think parents remember being a teenager that is determined to see something that they've heard about or look into something. You can't stop them if they're determined or they want to.
Especially if it's accessible from inside their house on a keyboard, which is that's a new thing for kids.
Yeah. I look back
I'm
curious
to. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's nothing.
Well, I was curious, and sorry, my thing has like a little bit of a delay, so apologize if I'm talking over you. But
no worries.
The Instagram thing. Can we continue on that thread? I want to connect. So, because part of what I'm trying to do is just learn and understand, but like I said, just help to like relate. Because I think so far, your story sounds to me like very relatable. This must be the story that's taking place in most households on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like, if you don't mind, let's continue with the Instagram thing and kind of keep going from there.
So and I don't mean this to be kind of snipey, but I didn't really get a say when, like, all of a sudden she had an Instagram account. So I was working backwards. But when she got the Instagram account, it was, I'd like to describe her account. I think it was exactly, it was tame. Like, it was like her friends and family and such could all see that and whatever. And then when I recognized on my phone, when I looked up passwords and such, that there was another account on Instagram under her, like an email address that wasn't mine, it was my daughter's. I said, I want to see this account. And so I made her open it up. And it was a little bit more of a teenage account that they were saying things that they didn't want parents to see and so on. And I kind of smiled at that. Like, I was like, okay, this is what I was expecting. I said, you know what? If I can be a friend of yours on that account, I'm going to let this slide. Otherwise, you got to shut the account down. I trusted her. So I still wanted her to have that freedom, because I learned a long time ago it was another parent that was talking about, he goes, if you put your kid in a playpen, when your kid starts climbing out of that playpen, don't put him back in the playpen. Build a bigger playpen. So I saw her doing things, and I didn't want to just restrict it. I wanted to say, okay, I trust you. I get it. If I prohibit you doing this, it's just going to show up somewhere else. You're just going to avoid it. So I said, let me monitor this as your cool dad. And I'm not even going to tell mom about it, but I get it. You want to have a place where you can just swear and talk to your friends and whatever. And I'm not going to see your private messages, but I do want to see what you're posting and the general tone. But Instagram was the one where there was some suspicious stuff for sure. I saw another account pop up, but she was so smart that in hindsight, she made another Instagram account under one of my email addresses and unsubscribed to notices and such. So this is the other thing where parents are looking to find other accounts. They might be making it under your email address. So I'm not searching my email addresses. And so she had an Instagram account that was under my email address that was definitely something that was all red flags. Like even her persona on it was that she was evil. And I don't think any of her friends knew about it. These were just her online friends. But the part with Instagram too is that like it's Instagram's like this hip club that all of us adults get to go to. And then we just all of a sudden just said, yeah, we're letting kids in too. At 24/7, 24 hours a day, you can come to Club Instagram and we're letting all our kids in. And if your kid's 6 years old and has internet access, he or she's coming in too. And we're allowing our teenagers to show up into clubs where they are trying to, like, you remember if there was an older kid in the group, you wanted to impress that older kid and act older than you were. And I think that's what's happening is that they see these older, Instagram models, and they're bombarded with, do you look good enough? Are you sexy enough? Are you healthy enough? Are you the right weight? And they're bombarded with all this stuff. And these kids want to keep up with these adults. And this is the first time that I saw pictures of my daughter that were a little bit more her showing her body. And then that's when I talked to her mom and everybody else and said, like, and she's like, well, we got the parenting app. There's nothing happening there. And I said, yeah. But she knows her way around that. I said, she made the account under my email address. So I don't think it even registered on the parenting app because it's just monitoring her known email addresses and her accounts. So she knows ways around it. And I was impressed with how well she knew how to navigate all this stuff. Better than all of us that have been on social media longer than they've been alive. So yeah, Instagram, I think that's where I put it. It was definitely the first warning signs of something more that maybe this isn't a good idea. And that's where I equate it to. It's like we created this social nightclub that everybody wants to be a part of, every adult, every young adult. And then we've invited all our kids in and they're trying to be a part of it. And I think and Instagram, I think, leads to all the other places like Facebook and TikTok and all those things because those are all shared on there too. You can share TikTok reels on Instagram. And then that's where I saw my daughter's her first TikTok account showed up. And I think this was just shortly after the pandemic. And so I said, hey, you can't make accounts without letting me know. I can't find out about it and then make an account. We agreed to do this at the same time. So I felt like I was trying to catch up to her. And as soon as I had a TikTok account and I was monitoring her account, I realized she had more than one TikTok account. And then she would shut one TikTok account up and then open up another TikTok account. And then I was also in the middle. This was at this time, by the time we were starting to be separated. And something happens with parents when you're separated and you got a child, you soften a little bit because you know this is going to be hard on them. And you also don't want to be the bad parent and you want them to hang out with you and you want them to trust you. And you're just trying to do what you think is best in that situation. But when you don't understand the consequences of that situation, what you think is best is sometimes contributing to a horrible outcome. And so with her TikTok, yeah,
go ahead. You're just going to say with her TikTok account. Yeah.
Well, that's where I started to see with Instagram a change. She definitely was becoming more emo and wearing certain things and acting a certain way, a lot more makeup. And it wasn't until she had her TikTok account where she also had, like, she was fairly popular fairly quickly. She had like 2,500 friends, and she was getting a lot of likes because her content, she was kind of cool, she was creative, she was edgy. So I thought, wow, Jesus, this is like, she's popping on this. We have to be careful with this. But I was one parent that was more worried about it than the other. And I don't mean that negatively too, is because the situation we're in, I don't know. I know friends that their kids are just fine with their situation, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
it was kind of a perfect storm where I was the only one worried about this thing and seeing signs that I was worried about, where it was kind of dismissed of like, well, she's 13, she's got a lot going on. I've got her on antidepressants, which I found out after the fact. I didn't know my daughter was on antidepressants when she was 13. I found that out later.
Wow.
And yeah, and that, but Instagram was when I first started to see her, not a little girl on roadblocks, kind of checking things out, be kind of curating a look and an image, and it seemed to be getting noticed. And I realized later now why she had all those friends was because she was part of a larger group already at that point.